see, nobody has asked them really where they want this to be. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. We have been planning a city for a very long time as planners and architects and administrators and, whatever we are, elected officials, based on what our experiences are. At this point in time, we've realized that and we didn't have to change and make those plans because people were coming to Detroit because there were opportunities for jobs. So we really didn't have to plan for that. Well, now that dynamic has changed a little bit and we've got to change that. So we're going to try this. We're going to see where that goes and how we get to change the philosophy. I also know that most of the time, so when I got married, again, I went to school in Atlanta, and a lot of my sorority sisters and everybody came to Detroit. Their image of what they thought Detroit was, even though I would always tell them was kind of scary, and they were a little nervous. My husband's frat brothers came from Nashville because he was at Tennessee State, and they came down there a little nervous or whatever. But when they left, they were like, wow. Most people that come here and see Detroit and really experience it for themselves find that it is not the image of what we portray it. We're basically our own worst enemies because we're in this so much, we don't see the benefits of where we are. So I think, though, that we've got to listen, put where we think this could be, and start working towards what that goal is, being inclusive to those that might leave because we could change this for them and get them to stay. I think there's some economics in getting some jobs here. I think the mayor is very, very adamantly trying to get jobs and opportunities to come to the city of Detroit. We've got to change how dynamically that is. The car industry was our income, and we should have been proactive years ago and tried to find another one of those incomes. We didn't. And so now we've got to figure out where that comes from. I do think that we're going to build this city back by entrepreneurship and by us creating our own opportunities for ourselves. But that's not really just my decision. That is the decision of the younger generation because that's who's going to have to live it. So let's ask them and let's plan it through that. How far we get with that, I don't know, but I'm going to start it. We're going to see where it goes, and hopefully we'll be able to grow it outside of District 2, but we're going to start here. The other thing that I'm doing is that, Detroit was, and I grew up, it was a single family home ownership kind of a city. We owned our properties. We owned it. Through whatever situations that have happened in the city of Detroit, because there's numerous ones. It's not just the foreclosure thing. It's not because of corruption and all that. There's a lot of different things that happened in the city. We were not afforded the opportunities to live other places. When we were afforded, we thought that was a better place to go. There's a lot of reasons why people have left the city and done those things. But in the process of that, what has happened is, as opposed to us being a home ownership city, we are now almost 50% a renter city. That's not necessarily a negative. It just is what it is, right? Things happened. People had to rent. They couldn't own. Whatever happened. A lot of it, unfortunately, was governmentally done, and we could have planned better for that, but we didn't. So now we're planning for it now. But I say that to say is that I go to these community meetings, and all the time, people, that renter down the street, and that landlord don't, and. So as a renter or a landlord, if I come to a Black Club meeting, immediately from the moment they open their mouths, I feel ostracized from those meetings. So I don't become part of that community, right? Because of the way that I'm treating. We've got to change what that dynamic is. Open our arms in the same way we have to open our arms up to youth and people and sometimes give them a hug. Sometimes we have to do that to the renter. We can't just go down there and say, you don't take care of this property and you need to. How about this? What's going on over here, guys? What can I do to help you? Let me talk to you. How are things happening? Where are we? Why do we look like this? Those kind of things. So we've started in District 2 a Renters Block Club.
That's cool.
And what that means is that I'm just asking landlords and renters to come together and have that dialogue about what we have to do. And I started for two reasons. Well, for a couple reasons. One is that we have this new renter registration process where we're going to be going after these landlords that are not taking care of their properties, right? And require that they are registered and that they actually bring their properties up to code. Well, when that happens, what do you think what happens with those properties? So if I'm making more requirements on these landlords to put more investment in their properties, some of that money might trickle down to where your rent goes up. People don't rent for $500 a month because that's where they want to rent. They rent because that's what they can afford.
That's what they afford.
That's what they can afford. So if that rent goes up, then where do I go? Right? So one of the things is renters' rights and responsibilities, landlords' responsibilities, but also right now, because of the unfortunate state of where we are in our city as far as us owning a lot of the properties, how do we get those renters back into being homeowners?
Distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.